July 2, 1973. A courtroom in Brooklyn sits empty. The judge stares at a vacant defendant's chair. Frank Matthews, one of the most powerful drug kingpins in American history, was supposed to appear for trial today. Instead, he's gone. Vanished. Along with his girlfriend and $20 million in cash. The FBI launches the biggest manhunt in their history. They search across continents, follow thousands of leads, deploy every resource imaginable. But Frank Matthews? He's a ghost. 50 years later, the FBI finally gave up. They closed his case. No body. No sightings. No trace. Just silence. This is the unbelievable true story of Black Caesar, the drug lord who built an empire, outsmarted the mafia, and pulled off the greatest disappearing act in criminal history. Where is Frank Matthews? Nobody knows. And that's what makes this story absolutely insane. Durham, North Carolina, 1944. Frank Larry Matthews was born into a world that didn't want him to succeed. Poverty surrounded him. Opportunities didn't exist for young black men in the segregated South. His childhood was hard, marked by struggle and limitation. But Frank possessed something rare, ambition that refused to accept the limitations others placed on him. He wasn't going to pick cotton or work menial jobs for pennies. He watched the streets, studied the hustlers, learned the game. By his early 20s, Frank had made a decision that would change everything. He was heading north to New York City, where fortunes could be made in the shadows. The year was 1965, and Frank Matthews was about to transform from a poor Southern kid into one of the most powerful criminals America had ever seen. His empire was about to begin. New York City welcomed Frank Matthews with both opportunity and danger. He started small, like every hustler does. Street-level dealing, making connections, learning who mattered and who didn't. But Frank was different from other dealers. He was smart, calculating, and incredibly ambitious. While others fought over corners, Frank thought bigger. He established distribution networks across multiple cities. His operation spread like wildfire: New York, Philadelphia, Boston, Baltimore, Washington, D.C. Frank's heroin was pure, his cocaine was quality, and his prices undercut everyone. Within just a few years, he controlled drug trafficking across 21 states on the East Coast. His organization employed hundreds of people. Money poured in faster than he could count it. By the early 1970s, Frank Matthews was making an estimated $10 million annually. He was only in his 20s, and he'd built something unprecedented, a black-owned drug empire that rivaled the Italian Mafia itself. But success brought problems. The Italian Mafia controlled most drug importation into America. They were the gatekeepers, the middlemen taking their cut from every deal. And they didn't appreciate Frank Matthews' rapid rise to power. Here was a young black man from North Carolina making millions, operating independently, threatening their monopoly. The Mafia made their position clear: Frank would buy through them, pay their prices, accept their terms, or face consequences. Most criminals would have backed down. The Mafia's reputation was built on violence and control. Crossing them meant death. But Frank Matthews wasn't most criminals. He looked at the Mafia's ultimatum and made a decision that would change organized crime forever. He refused. Instead of accepting their dominance, Frank decided to cut them out completely. He was going to go directly to the source, the drug suppliers in South America and beyond. The Mafia had underestimated him. That was their first mistake. Frank Matthews organized something unprecedented. He called a meeting in Atlanta, bringing together the most powerful black and Latino drug dealers from across America. Kingpins who normally competed sat in the same room. Frank stood before them with a revolutionary proposal. Why pay the Mafia's inflated prices? Why enrich Italian criminals when they could connect directly with suppliers? Frank had already established connections with South American drug cartels. He could get cocaine and heroin at source prices, cutting out middlemen entirely. If they united, pooled resources, and established direct supply lines, they'd control their own destinies. The profits would be enormous. The Atlanta meeting changed everything. Frank Matthews had just organized Black and Latino traffickers into a unified force, breaking the mafia's stranglehold on American drug trade. He'd declared war without firing a shot. The nickname came naturally, Black Caesar. Frank Matthews lived like royalty. Multiple mansions, luxury cars, expensive jewelry, beautiful women. He moved through New York like he owned it. His organization made money at staggering rates. $10 million in 1972 alone, probably much higher. Frank had style, confidence, and power that commanded respect. Custom suits, Cadillacs, Mercedes, legendary parties. But beneath the flash was a brilliant criminal mind. He kept meticulous records, managed complex logistics, maintained loyalty through generosity and fear. His operation ran like a Fortune 500 company. Distribution networks, payment systems, quality control, everything was professional and efficient. While other dealers drew attention through violence, Frank operated with business precision. He was untouchable. The empire he'd built appeared unshakable. But every empire falls eventually. The Drug Enforcement Administration had been watching Frank Matthews for years. They knew he was big, but connecting the dots revealed the truth. 21 states. Hundreds of associates. Millions monthly. This was a criminal mastermind running a national operation. The DEA made Frank their top priority. Agents followed him, wiretapped phones, flipped associates, built their case methodically. Frank was careful, insulated by layers of organization. He rarely touched drugs himself. But the DEA was patient. That moment came in Las Vegas, January 1973. Frank was arrested at the Tropicana Hotel. The charges were serious: conspiracy to distribute narcotics across state lines. The evidence was substantial. Finally, after years of investigation, law enforcement had Black Caesar in custody. The empire was about to crumble. Or so they thought. The Las Vegas courtroom exploded when the judge announced Frank Matthews' bail. $5 million. In 1973, that amount was astronomical, the highest bail ever set in American history. Prosecutors smiled, thinking there was no way Frank could raise that money. They were wrong. Frank Matthews posted the entire $5 million in cash. He walked into court with bags of money and bought his freedom. The prosecutors' faces went pale. The judge looked shocked. DEA agents realized they'd underestimated their target dramatically. If Frank could casually drop $5 million, how much did he actually have? Frank walked out a free man. His trial was set for Brooklyn, July 2, 1973. Everyone expected him to show up. Frank Matthews had other plans. Her name was Cheryl Denise Brown. Beautiful, loyal, deeply in love with Frank Matthews. While Frank built his empire, Cheryl stood beside him, sharing the wealth and danger. She wasn't just arm candy. Cheryl knew everything about Frank's operations, his money, his secrets. When Frank got arrested, Cheryl didn't run. She stayed close, prepared for whatever came next. Authorities watched her, hoping she'd lead them to hidden money or provide testimony. But Cheryl never talked, never cooperated, never wavered. In the weeks before Frank's July court date, something changed. Cheryl and Frank were seen together constantly, having intense conversations, making arrangements. They visited safe deposit boxes, converted assets to cash. They were preparing for something big. Cheryl Denise Brown wasn't just Frank's girlfriend. She was about to become his partner in the greatest escape in criminal history. June 1973. Frank Matthews moved through New York like a man on a mission. He liquidated assets, collected debts, converted everything to untraceable cash. Associates noticed Frank was saying goodbye, though he never said those words. He paid what he owed. He settled scores. He tied up loose ends. Publicly, Frank appeared ready for trial. He talked about fighting charges, having faith in the system. But privately, Frank executed an exit strategy years in the making. He'd always known this day might come. Frank had money stashed everywhere. Cash, gold, jewelry, all portable wealth. He'd established false identities, offshore accounts, international connections. The last week of June, Frank held a final party. Friends, associates, allies attended. Nobody realized it was farewell. On July 1st, Frank Matthews and Cheryl Denise Brown left New York. They never came back. July 2, 1973. The Brooklyn courtroom filled with prosecutors, DEA agents, reporters, and spectators. Everyone waited for Frank Matthews. 9 o'clock came and went. No Frank. His lawyers looked genuinely confused. The judge grew impatient. 10 o'clock. Still nothing. Prosecutors made urgent calls. DEA agents scrambled to Frank's addresses. Everything was empty. Cleaned out. By noon, reality was undeniable. Frank Matthews had fled. A federal warrant was immediately issued. The FBI joined the DEA in what would become one of the largest manhunts in American history. They raided properties, finding them abandoned. They interrogated associates who knew nothing. They checked airports, borders, train stations. Nothing. Frank and Cheryl had vanished completely. Then investigators discovered something chilling. Frank hadn't just disappeared, he'd taken approximately $20 million in cash with him. Gone. Along with America's most wanted drug lord. The FBI threw everything at finding Frank Matthews. Hundreds of agents worked the case. They followed thousands of leads across continents. Informants were pressured, rewards offered, international agencies enlisted. The investigation became obsessive. Reported sightings came from everywhere: Los Angeles, Miami, Mexico, South America, Africa, Europe. Every lead was chased. Every tip investigated. Nothing panned out. Frank had prepared too well. His false identities were sophisticated. His money was untraceable. His escape route was brilliant. Investigators theorized he'd fled to countries without extradition treaties. Venezuela, Brazil, or somewhere in Africa where money could buy protection. Others thought Europe, blending into expatriate communities. Some believed he'd gotten plastic surgery, completely changing his appearance. Theories were endless, but evidence was non-existent. Years passed. The trail grew colder. But the FBI never stopped looking. Cheryl Denise Brown vanished alongside Frank, but her trail presented its own mysteries. Investigators found evidence she'd helped plan the escape, withdrawn large cash amounts, possibly purchased false documents. Her family claimed they never heard from her again after July 1973. Some believed Cheryl and Frank stayed together, living in exotic anonymity. Others theorized something darker, that Frank, paranoid about being caught, eliminated the one person who knew everything. There were reported sightings of Cheryl separate from Frank, suggesting they might have split up. One theory proposed she returned to America under a new identity. Another suggested she died shortly after the escape from illness, accident, or foul play. The FBI considered her both fugitive and potential victim. Like Frank, Cheryl simply ceased to exist after July 1973. Two people, $20 million, vanished into thin air. The mystery only deepened. Some investigators believed the Italian Mafia held the key to Frank's disappearance. Frank had humiliated them, cut them out of millions, organized their competition against them. The Mafia had long memories and longer reach. One theory suggested the Mafia caught up with Frank shortly after his escape, killed him and Cheryl, disposed of the bodies. The $20 million would have been payment for years of disrespect. This theory explained why Frank was never seen again. He was dead within weeks. But other investigators disagreed. If the Mafia killed Frank, they'd want people to know. That's how they operated, public executions that sent messages. Frank's complete disappearance didn't fit their pattern. Plus, they would have bragged about recovering $20 million. Silence suggested something else. Perhaps Frank made peace with the Mafia before fleeing, paying them off for safe passage. The Mafia angle remained one of many unprovable theories. Over decades, reported sightings of Frank Matthews came from around the world. Caracas, Venezuela. Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Lagos, Nigeria. Paris, Amsterdam, Barcelona. Each sighting sparked renewed investigation. FBI agents traveled internationally, chasing ghosts. Some sightings seemed credible with specific details. Others were mistaken identity or people seeking reward money. The problem was Frank's appearance: medium height, medium build, black man in his 30s when he disappeared. With money for plastic surgery and 50 years of aging, he could be anyone. Every lead evaporated under scrutiny. If Frank was alive somewhere, he'd achieved perfect anonymity. That level of sustained invisibility required incredible discipline, resources, and luck. Not everyone believed Frank Matthews was living in exotic retirement. Many investigators became convinced he died shortly after disappearing, explaining the absence of credible sightings. Theory 1: Frank and Cheryl died in an accident while fleeing: plane crash, car accident, boat sinking. Bodies never recovered. Theory 2: drug cartel connections turned on him, killed him, took the $20 million. Theory 3: one of Frank's associates betrayed him, murdered him for the money. Theory 4: Frank died of natural causes years later: heart attack, stroke, cancer, alone in some foreign country under a false identity. Each theory had supporters within law enforcement. The death theories seemed most logical. How could someone stay hidden for 50 years? The answer might be simple: he didn't. He died decades ago. $20 million in 1973 equals roughly $130 million today. That amount doesn't just disappear. Investigators spent years following the money trail. They examined bank records, monitored money laundering networks, tracked offshore accounts. They found nothing. This suggested Frank had hidden the money extremely well, or converted it into untraceable assets: gold, diamonds, artwork. Some believed Frank established safe deposit boxes under various identities across multiple countries. Others thought he'd invested through intermediaries, living off returns. The complete absence of a money trail was perhaps the most impressive aspect of Frank's disappearance. In an increasingly digital world with sophisticated financial tracking, Frank made $20 million completely vanish. That fact alone suggested either brilliant planning or early death. Frank Matthews' family maintained silence about his disappearance for decades. His relatives were interviewed repeatedly by FBI agents, but they claimed complete ignorance. They said Frank never contacted them after July 1973. Some investigators believed the family genuinely knew nothing. Frank had cut all ties to protect them. Others suspected the family knew exactly where Frank was but would never betray him. Family loyalty ran deep, especially when someone had Frank's resources to ensure their comfort. Rumors suggested Frank secretly supported his family financially through untraceable means: cash deliveries, anonymous gifts. His mother reportedly lived comfortably until her death, raising questions about income sources. But nothing was proven. The family's silence remained absolute. If they knew anything, they took those secrets to their graves. Frank Matthews became a legend in hip-hop culture and urban folklore. Rappers referenced him in lyrics, celebrating the drug lord who beat the system and disappeared with millions. He represented the ultimate hustler fantasy: build an empire, get rich, escape before consequences catch up. Movies and documentaries explored his story, though most dramatized heavily. Black Caesar became synonymous with success and mystery. Street culture elevated Frank to mythical status. Younger generations who never lived through the 1970s knew his name. Frank Matthews merchandise appeared: t-shirts, posters, Halloween costumes. He'd become more famous in Disappearance than while running his empire. This cultural immortalization ensured his story would never be forgotten. Frank had achieved something rare: he'd become a ghost story, an urban legend, a cautionary tale and inspiration simultaneously. 50 years after Frank Matthews disappeared, the FBI made an unprecedented announcement. They were officially closing his case. After 5 decades of investigation, thousands of leads followed, millions spent, they admitted defeat. Frank Matthews would remain one of the few who truly got away. The announcement shocked many. The FBI never gives up. But Frank's case had gone completely cold. No new leads in decades. No credible sightings. If Frank was still living, he'd be 79 years old. Most likely, investigators concluded, he died years ago in some foreign country, his true identity never discovered. The FBI's surrender felt like Frank's final victory. He'd outlasted them. Outwitted them. Disappeared so completely that even the world's most powerful law enforcement agency finally admitted they couldn't find him. So where is Frank Matthews? That question haunts everyone who learns his story. Is he dead, buried in an unmarked grave somewhere? Did he die decades ago, never knowing he'd become legendary? Or is he still alive, an old man living quietly somewhere, watching documentaries about himself with a knowing smile? Maybe he's in a Brazilian beach town. Perhaps he's in a European city. Could he be in America, hiding in plain sight? The truth is, nobody knows. And that's what makes this story absolutely incredible. In an age of surveillance and digital tracking, one man achieved complete invisibility. He disappeared with $20 million and was never seen again. Not caught. Not confirmed dead. Just gone. Frank Matthews proved you can vanish forever. His story remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American criminal history.